Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Super Rugby Review Preview Show where we have a look at what's happened over the weekend of round 11. We had a good portion of 7 matches to go through. It was a real weekend of amazing, you could call them upsets as well. A lot of results that went the way that most people did not predict, which would have been good if you could predict them, but as you'll see, my picks this weekend were not flash at all, but we'll get to those in just a second. First off, we'll kick things underway, having a look at the 4 sides who are having a bye. They were the Jaguars, the Lions, the Rebels, and the Stormers. No action from those 4 sides this weekend, but from round 11, our 7 matches kicked off on Friday night with the Crusaders at home up against the resurgent Reds as well. And this was an interesting game to start the round off because the Reds are a side who have just looked better and better as the competition's going on, but their opponents, which were the Crusaders, very much the same thing, but a couple of tiers further up the ladder. The Crusaders, predominantly very slow starters in Super Rugby, but they put on an absolute clinic against the Reds team who looked completely out of ideas. They had no idea what on earth was going on. The Crusaders form is just going up and up and up, and each week that goes by you just look at them and say, these guys really are going to be contenders if they can keep this up. A lot of talk before the matchup about No Nadolo, who no one even noticed he wasn't there because one new name come along, really stood up finally after being in the Crusaders setup for quite a while. That was Masalai, who just slotted right in on that wing position and scored himself a hat-trick of brilliant tries. The Reds were blown away from minute 1 to minute 80, and they had a little portion where they scored a very nice try that got them all 5 points they managed, but it was Crusaders all the way. Little response from the Reds, and although they've looked so very good recently, the Reds, they got completely outplayed in the opening match of round 11. The final score on that one was 38 points to 5. My prediction was 33-16, so it wasn't too far off, but still, outside that 10-point buffer, I grab 1 point to kick off the weekend, which that's always a good way to start, but she's all downhill from there. Matchup number 2, and we made our way to Australia. The Brumbies were at home, and they're up against the Bulls, who looked very impressive last weekend in round number 10. But I think this matchup was a real arm wrestle, a real battle out there on the field, and I think the score flattered the Brumbies of how this match actually went. It was a stalemate for the most part of the matchup, and with just about half an hour to go, the score was 9-6 to the Brumbies, only seeing 5 penalties throughout the first 50 or so minutes. The Brumbies were pretty loose and not their clinical selves at all. The Bulls were getting absolutely destroyed by the referee in the scrums, the breakdowns, every portion that a good South African team prides himself on. The ref was just destroying everything they built together. They couldn't get any momentum at the breakdown. Their set piece become a shambles, and I feel that really destroyed the Bulls, but I've got to credit them. They really did stick in this match quite well. A couple of late tries, a sneaky tap into the corner from Thomas Cabelli. Very good player, Cabelli. He's really showing his true colours here at the Brumbies. But in the end, the Brumbies did run away with it. 23-6 for the final score. Like I said at the start, flatters the Brumbies. I don't think they deserved to really get a good win like that at all. Didn't get the bonus point, however. The Bulls just outplayed by the referee. The 16th man almost for the Brumbies. My score prediction was 36-22 for the Bulls. I thought there might be a few tries in this one, but I was completely wrong about that. And a big fat 0 in match number 2 for me. Game 3 saw a nice Saturday afternoon fixture where we see the Sunwolves at home in action against the Force, and I spoke about this in the preview, how I thought this is a real chance for the Sunwolves to grab their 2nd consecutive win, which would have been huge for them, but what we saw was what we kind of would expect from the battle of the basement. There was an expected big drop in skill in the level of rugby that was played after we watched a bad Brumbies versus a struck down Bulls, and the Crusaders versus the Resurgent Reds. You know, they were quite top shelf games. Despite the scorelines, I think the Reds really do play a lot better than they were earlier. I think they're a class above the Sunwolves and the Force in this matchup. Still, there was plenty of tries, plenty of intercepts as well. Braki got himself a number of tries. He was quite impressive as well for the Force, but all their points were scored in a pretty big cluster, I think, the Force, and they kind of blew the Sunwolves completely off the park in the opening real half of the matchup. 26-5 it was at the halftime break, and you kind of felt by that point already the Force had run away with it. Braki hat-trick was already in the bank after 20 minutes, and they were really cruising at that point. But I have to credit the team, the Sunwolves, because there are one side that never, ever gives up at all. They really do play the full 80 minutes, no question about it, and they come back with a couple of late tries. Carpenter and Yamada, who I think has been superb over the whole season, and same Derek Carpenter coming in over the last couple of weeks has really gave some great punch to the Sunwolves midfield, but in the end it wasn't enough for them. The Sunwolves' big cluster of tries early on, enough to guide them home as Pryor continued to chip away the points on the board. The final score was 40-22. The Western Force of the win over the Sunwolves. Now my pick was the Sunwolves to snip it, 38-33, not to be another big fat 0 for my weekend score. Game number 4, and this was the big one of the weekend as well. It was the Chiefs at home against the Highlanders. Now I don't know many, if any, people that actually predicted the Highlanders to come away with this one in a close fought thing, let alone in a quite convincing performance, which is what we saw. There was a lot of talk surrounding this match as being the real decider for who could topple this New Zealand conference. And the Highlanders, they've really had the wood over the Chiefs recently as well. 3 times they beat the Chiefs in 2015, and they're on course again to do it for a 4th consecutive time. What this match really ended up to be was a team with a clear and obvious and working game plan versus a team that plan A didn't work and had no other idea what they were going to be. That's what really happened, and I feel sorry for the Chiefs. They really were in disarray. Their usual game plan that works every single week in, week out, had no nous whatsoever against this Highlanders defence. Once again, we talk about this Highlanders defence that shut the Chiefs out. They got a try very late on, the Chiefs, which is the only thing they really had to celebrate, other than they were completely and utterly destroyed. Only 2 penalties throughout the match until that final try right at the end. The Chiefs just failed to find a way through the defence. They failed to find a new way to attack the Highlanders defence, and it was just so fluid to watch the way the Highlanders defended and the way their team really moulded together exactly like that. The team, we start to talk about those unheralded front rowers and forward pack of the Highlanders once again at the business time of the season. When the crunch comes on, they get the result over the big rival in New Zealand Conference as well, the Chiefs. Now another mention has to go out to Waisaki Naholo, first game back. What an impact. What an absolute impact that man is. Also Patrick Osborne, I think he is often forgotten about what he does out on the left wing. He is such a strong and skillful runner of the ball. He is always such a threat for the Highlanders and often sets game-breaking runs into action on his side. So the final score now was 26-13. The Highlanders getting a very easy, very convincing win over the Chiefs. They did it with the hard work and good defence, and they've got the big one over the Chiefs. My prediction for that was 44-41. I thought we might see a bit of excitement from 2 very attacking sides, but it was the defence ultimately that won out on the day. The Highlanders' natural attackers, so that part of the game just comes easily for them. And again, 0 points in a row now, 3 of them for me for the last 3 matches. Absolutely dreadful. Now we go over to Australia. We're talking about dreadful. The Waratahs are in action against the Cheetahs, and this match, wow, it reminded me kind of the Anzac League test that was on Friday night. Drab, error-ridden, almost boring game between these 2 sides. I think The Waratahs need to thank Reece Robinson for actually having some attacking ability in that match. Brendan Foley scored a whole pile of points as well. He was fairly decent. But they just seem to lack something, the Waratahs. They just seem to not look that exciting. They are struggling to get that big, bruising, attacking, flowing game of theirs really working. And Robinson, he's the only one that seemed to be able to break the game open. The Cheetahs, well, the poor old Cheetahs, they enjoyed early success at home, but she's really coming apart now on the tour. The cracks are really showing for the Cheetahs. They were pretty poor as they were in round 10 as well. The Waratahs didn't have to look good to beat them, but I do fear that the Waratahs are going to struggle when they come up against a top side like the New Zealand sides, or for that even a South African side on their game would really push this Waratahs team quite easily on the road. So the final score there was 21-6. The Waratahs getting the win over the Cheetahs. My call was 23-17, so I gave a few too many points to the Cheetahs on that one, but the Waratahs did enough. They got the job done. They had to fight, they had to battle. It was a bit of a bruising encounter, but in the end, a win is a win for the Waratahs, who once again take the points. And speaking of points, I grabbed one for that result. Speaking of South African sides, we make our way over there next for the Sharks up against the Hurricanes, and this one, completely honest, was a pretty big shock. The Hurricanes played very, very well in their last match against the Lions, and I thought they might continue that on and give the Sharks a good run for their money, but we always spoke about the Sharks are a team that defends and feeds off their opposition's mistakes, and the Hurricanes, being the Hurricanes, are a team that can be clinical and make very, very few mistakes, or they can be the complete opposite and absolutely bulldoze and butcher the ball all over the shop and completely lose their marbles. I felt quite a bit of that come into play on that round 11 fixture. The Sharks had plenty of chances to counter-attack, plenty of chances to build off mistakes, and they even showed a little bit of what their backline can do when they get the chance as well. So the Sharks were gifted quite a nice meal of mistakes as well, and they were sure to gobble them up. Keegan Daniel absolutely sublime around the set piece, where the mistakes were well and truly flowing from the Hurricanes. They were giving the ball away just willy-nilly, mistake after mistake, and just everything was going the Sharks' way. They were getting the chances, the bounces, but it wasn't all luck. There was a lot of good performances from them as well. Defence, as always with the Sharks, you go without saying now, the defence was immaculate, and when they had it in the hand, they actually looked a little tiny bit more dangerous than usual, but as always, they rely on their forwards and the errors to get the job done, and they got the job done quite well indeed. One thing that will be pleasing Sharks fans, apart from getting all the wins, is the return of Pat Lambie. He made his comeback from that injury, coming on as a substitute late on in the second half as well, which will be very pleasing for the Sharks to get their usual number 10 back there. But I've got to give credit to April, who has been, I think, one of the finds of the season so far. Very cool, calm and collected customer, and he gets the job done for the Sharks. I think he's been very good starting in that number 10 jumper. And with Lambie back, his coolness off the bench or vice versa, it makes the Sharks look quite dangerous indeed. Like what I was going there, Sharks 32, Hurricanes 15. Final score, my prediction for that one was Hurricanes 39, Sharks 19. So again, miles off the mark, 0 points for me on that one too. Final match of the weekend, and we made our way back over to South Africa where the Kings are at home hosting the Blues. And wow, we talked about this one in the preview. It's just really a matter of how much than if the other side are going to beat the Kings. The Blues, they were ultimately good enough as expected, but the Kings, once again, they're showing these signs that they could be dangerous. I think it's not going to be this season. It might not even be next season. But this Kings team has the ability, and they've shown it time and time again. They're up 10-5 early on in the match, and later on, with about 20 minutes to go, they're only down 22-18, and really in for a chance of putting in the big upset. The Blues had to battle for every single point, and the dangerous backline players like Milani Nanai ultimately were too good. Tavita Lee grabbing the bonus point try 5 minutes after the full-time buzzer actually went off. And as we've seen from the Kings, they faded late into the match, let the other team take it completely away, blow the scoreline out. But I think the Kings really need to look at the positives here, because they've shown a lot of good positives in games like we've seen against the Crusaders, where they're actually leading that one with some brilliant blistering tries early on, and multiple other games where they've started well, or they've taken control of the match through the middle portion. This Kings side isn't going to beat anyone this season, but they're going to be a threat. If they can keep this team together, they could well do some good things, like we see of the Lions this season. They were rubbish 2-3 years ago, and now look at them. They're really up there as a front runner. So the final score there was Blues 34, Kings 18. My pick was 48-20, the Blues as well. So I still grab 1 point for that result, going my way, the Blues getting the win. Alright, so that wraps us up for our review of round 11 of Super Rugby. I'll be back again as usual in a couple of days' time to have a look at round 12. But first things first, let's have a look at the points table updated from round 11, and you can see I only picked up 3 points. No bonus points, just 3 head-to-head points. A dreadful round from my picks, but going by all your picks as well, most people thought very similar things to me. Most people thought that the Chiefs would get the win. Most people thought the Bulls would beat the Brumbies as well. One of those weekends where really there was a big upset of the apple cart as well. Out of everyone who put in their picks, it was Ruben Haraki who come out with the best of the lot. 4 matches correct. No bonus points, just 4 head-to-head results going his way, grabbing him, of course, 4 points for the result. The big one there for him was picking the Brumbies to get the win over the Bulls. Other than that, it was the same 3. Crusaders, Reds, of course, the Waratahs over the Cheetahs, and the Blues beating the Kings, of course, at the bottom. So, a tough round to pick, a very tough round to pick in round 11, but that does do my time for today. Thank you everyone for tuning in and watching. Hope you have enjoyed the review of Super Rugby round 11. So for those of you who stick around right to the bitter end of all my videos, thank you for tuning in and staying around for this long. But some of you may be wondering where all the videos have been recently. I will be completely honest, I've been spending my time getting a lot of stuff ready, because there's a lot of squad editing and things going into my time at the moment. So you can expect this week, guaranteed, if you're good enough to stick around to the end of this video, you'll have the heads up. We will be having new series starting, old series concluding as well, and well, if you're clever enough, you'll work it out for yourself as what's coming up. But some big things starting in the next few days. This week, definitely, you will see some new series and some awesome new content with, of course, a lot of extremely edited teams as well. Boy, oh boy, that shit is extremely time-consuming. So thanks for sticking around right to the bitter end. I hope you're all excited to see all the new stuff coming to the channel as well. And I'll see you all very soon for some new exciting content. Until then, thanks for watching and take care.